Howdy, and welcome to Risky Standard, a years-long psychological experiment performed under the guise of an actual play podcast, featuring a rowdy group of best friends playing tabletop role-playing games together. I am your host and Firefly for today's game of The Wildsea by Felix Isaacs. Sorry, I didn't say what my name is. Roll it back.
I'm Felix Isaac.
I am Felix Isaacs. I am not Felix Isaacs.
And I'm the Firefly now.
I'm Mitch Brewster, your host and Firefly for today's game of The Wildsea by Felix Isaacs. You can find links to The Wildsea on itch.io or get a hardcover from it over at MythWorks. Links to those in the show notes. You can find me over on Blue Sky at Magnesium B, and you can find the show over on Blue Sky at Risky Standard. And you also can find us over at the show's Patreon. We don't have like a hyperlink for that, do we?
Yeah, it's risky-standard.com.
All right. Find us over on the show's Patreon at risky-standard.com or probably patreon.com/risky-standard ?
Focus intently on our voices and look at your computer.
But over there, you can support the show, get access to bonus content that includes one-shots, some touchstone episodes where we're visiting or revisiting media that's been influential to the work on the show, a bunch of other programming and stuff that we're working on. I'm going to take this moment to shout out something I don't think I have shouted out before. My fiance works on a print magazine called the Philadelphia Citywide, which is a zine featuring a kind of mix of art, writing, and reporting about local issues in the Philadelphia area. For our visual listeners, there's a nice little copy of it right there. And hopefully by the time this is coming out, I suspect that the third issue might be out already or will be coming out soon. We'll see.
We have an ad in the on page 2 right there.
Yeah. And if you found us through the Citywide, that rips, and we love you. And I'm going to make an offer right now to all of our Mid-Atlantic listeners. If you find me at a Citywide release party, I will answer any one question about the show that you might have. Deep spoilers, it doesn't matter. You want to know how it all ends? I've got it in here, and I'll tell you, but you got to find me there.
But you must first capture him and subdue him.
And me, I'll be there too, and I'll answer any question. Unlimited.
I only talk about the show.
One tells only truths, the other only lies.
One tells you how, and the other tells you when.
And who are these ghostly specters, these voices in the ether? Why, of course, we have Pete Loftus.
That's right. I'm Pete. I tell neither truth nor lie, but a secret third thing.
Malcolm Hall is here tonight.
What's up, risk takers? What's up, gamesters? I love you.
Of course, Timothy Manns.
Good to be here. And guys, again, just to talk about the Patreon for a second. It's great. I'm on the highest tier they're letting me on the show, so, you know.
Tim is one of our first subscribers.
We've just met him.
This is great. They've been letting me do this for a while now. Even before they launched it, I've just been kind of sending
Somehow he's been wiring me banknotes for like 15 years.
I get one of those big checks that they hand out at fundraisers.
Publishers
I've been sending one of
Clearinghouse.
those to Pete once a month for years now.
Oh.
It's getting harder and harder to move around in here.
If we can figure out a way and a reason to get a big check for Risky Standard, that would be fun.
Brother.
Well, then look no further than our $100 a month Patreon tier, where you'll get a signed hardcover of any game that we're playing, and we will personally deliver a big check to you.
Which is confusing because you're paying us, but we'll figure it all out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually, you get to give us the big check.
We'll deliver the blank big check to you. You can then sign it out to us.
Let's work on that one. That's almost a good joke.
And that's what we specialize in here at Risky Standard.
Almost good jokes.
We get you 3/4 of the way there. You can carry it over the finish line yourself, dear listener.
Hey, you get the point, yeah.
In our last session, we saw the crew embark, continuing their journey across the Wildsea towards the bustling freeport of Caldermere, which is their final destination. This time, the Tempest, the Rattlehand, the Mad Scientist, Hexam, Zephyro, took the wheel and was at the helm to guide our ship across the choppy green waves. But in his frustration over previous scientific failures, Hex took us on a wild ride on a fast approach towards a haunting melody playing on the waves coming from a pre-Verdant structure surfaced by the recent root quakes. Hexam managed to keep the ship from narrowly crashing into this structure, And drawn by its strange music, the crew decided to disembark onto the thrash and get a closer look. Reese, Calathiel, and the Captain Claremont Montclair disembarked, crawling down onto the treetops to get onto the structure itself, discovering a building that I think we as listeners, as viewers in theater of the mind, would recognize as something like an Old West saloon, hanging at a canted angle in the branches, the haunting melody pouring out from inside of it. While Hexam stayed on the deck to keep an eye on the ship and oversee things, the rest of the crew ventured inside the structure to get a closer look at the source of this strange melody. And as you three entered, you did get a look inside, kind of confirming this exterior view of this building as something like an old bar or saloon. Its interior filled with the smashed remains of tables, chairs, and bottles as it kind of listed on its side. And you found also the source of the music, a mechanical automated player piano, cycling through and looping, playing the same melancholic melody over and over again. And just as you discovered what was going on in there, and the three of you made it inside, the structure shifted in the branches, falling to its side and dropping deeper into the thrash, sending the crew plummeting inside while a portion of the wall, now the floor, broke away to reveal the vast expanse of branches and darkness below. So I think right when we had left off, Hexam, you were on the deck, and you've probably just seen this building kind of plummet lower into the thrash. And on the inside, Calathiel, you were thrown across the structure, to the wall that is now the floor. In the corner before you, that a portion of that wall has broken away, crashing to the forest below. Meanwhile, Reese, you had also been kind of sent hurtling through the structure, landing on the second floor balcony on the opposite side, also the floor now. And meanwhile, Claremont had fallen forward and was caught by one of the kind of bandolier strap suspenders he's wearing. I think I described his outfit as Brendan Fraser in The Mummy, these two kind of bandolier straps. And one of those had caught on the balcony of the wall that is now the ceiling. And Claremont is kind of dangling from his suspenders on this broken outcropping of wood, wiggling in the air helplessly. And so, coming back in, I just want to kind of give a big overview. That's where everyone's at. In positionally to each other. A couple of tracks that are worth noting here. There is a track called The Growing Rootquakes, which is right now at 2 out of 5 segments. And this represents the rootquakes that are common in this area and the way that they've been growing in intensity. That track will continue to progress as these rootquakes do as well. And there is one other 3-segment track, which is a secret track. You do not know what its title is or what it will result in when it fills, but I gave it 1 mark when you arrived at this structure, and it is still sitting at 1 out of 3 segments. And so as this session goes on, you might see that track to start to fill, and you might be able to start to piece together what that track is and what it means. But for now, it's a little twist, a little trap for me to deploy as the time feels right.
Oh, you devious
What
man.
the hell? What the hell, dude? I thought this was going to be fun. Okay, so, this saloon, this building, is sort of caught in the bramble and is cracked open like an egg, right? Like, kind of split down the center.
Not quite down the center. So what's happened is, this is like a saloon. It's like a 2-story structure. The second story is mostly a balcony that kind of overlooks the lower floor. There are staircases that have kind of rotted away on one side and are still intact on the other side. Let's say just directionally to kind of orient ourselves a little bit, right? Let's say that the south wall is the entrance. The north wall is the rear of the building. The east wall is now completely tipped over, so the east wall has become the floor.
Okay.
And part of that wall has crumbled away. It is now just kind of a yawning pit in the side of the building. And I think you can see in other places, the building is like kind of... It hasn't fallen apart yet, But you can see other places where the wood is creaking and groaning, where where portions of it have fallen away. But this is like the biggest structural impact the thing has taken. And on this east wall, which is now the floor, at the back of the room, towards the north wall, opposite the entrance, there is this player piano, which is like resting against the wall, which is playing this kind of, I think it's kind of loud. It's kind of like, it's not quite a dirge, but it is this like melancholic, like minor key melody, and it is playing that on a loop.
Okay. I guess what underpins my question is, like, am I separated because I tumbled down these stairs? Is the chasm kind of between me and
Yes,
Montclair?
I think you are on the like closer to the entrance. Yeah, and there's like kind of a chasm in the floor between you and the thing. Malcolm or Reese is also on the same part of the floor as you, but he is on the other side of the chasm on the balcony overlooking things.
Okay.
Although now he's it's almost like the balcony is separating him from underneath it, which is where the piano is. And then Claremont is hanging from the balcony on the west wall, and he's, his suspender is caught in like, just like a broken beam or piece of the balcony. He's hanging from it, and he is dangling over the chasm, which has opened up on what is now the floor.
Well, I think as the kind of rubble settles into place here, Calathiel has instinctively curled into a ball. And I think, like, as and maybe some boards or something kind of falling off him as he peeks open as the like tail fans just a bit here.
And above you, I think it's egads, gentlemen. I'm stuck on my bandolier, and he's I think wiggling in the air, his legs kicking, the kind of leather strap of this bandolier stretching out further. Claremont, is kind of helplessly stuck in the air. I think he's kind of holding on a little bit to the broken piece of banister that his bandolier, his strap is caught on, and as he's holding it there, I think we hear crack and a creak, camera zoom in close as we see wood starting to splinter as, this banister does not have that long before Claremont is sent plummeting to the depths below.
What's the opposite of being hoisted by your own petard? Just dangled? Well, I think, immediate concern is make sure everyone's okay. Cal calls out, like, Captain, Reese, everyone okay?
No!
I'm fine. I believe the captain needs a hand though.
Astute observation.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
If I used I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
I used I have a piece of what is it? It's a piece of salvage length of chain. I used it before. Does that mean it's used up, or I still have it?
It's not used up because I didn't make you get rid of. What I mean? If you had failed that roll, that you know what I mean, then a consequence I could have inflicted on you would be destroying that piece of chain, making you use it up, or like giving it a negative tag in some way. But you had succeeded, or mostly succeeded on that last roll, and so that was not one of your consequences. So you still, as of this moment, have that length of chain.
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it just yet, or I haven't really decided the best way to do that. So, but it's nice to know that I do have it.
And I mean, Reese, you and I need to figure out how to get across this thing if we're going to be helpful here at all, right?
Yeah, you are.
Exactly.
Probably both like 15 feet. Yeah, or probably Calathiel, you're like 20 feet away from where Claremont is dangling. You're below him. Reese, because you're up on that balcony portion on the other side, you're probably a little bit closer to where Claremont is, like 15 feet away from him. Mm-hmm. But you're under also where he's at, right?
And if he drops, he's dropping through.
He's dropping through right into the open maw in the side of the building.
He's dangling over where the floor has collapsed away, or the wall rather. And if his suspenders or break right now, or if that beam breaks, he will plunge right into the Wildsea below.
Big Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, maybe he'll get caught on the branches. Maybe he'll be able to cling his way back up. But he's a bulky guy. He's got some weight to him, and it is dark below. You know what I mean? You are.
How deep are we? Would he be falling into the tangle?
I think you're still I think this thing is now resting on the lower layers of the thrash.
Okay.
From the surface, you can no longer see it.
Yeah.
It has sunk in, another 10 or 15 feet into the thrash. And so, yeah, you're looking at the tangle below. And the tangle, again, for our listeners is, we talk about the Wildsea and kind of, in the same way we talk about the ocean, there are different layers. And the thrash is this higher upper layer. It is the treetops. It is like 20 or 30 feet or so of these kind of like dense canopies. And below that is the tangle, which is still densely grown with vegetation, with plant life, with branches spreading out, but it's starting to get a little more thinned out, and it's a little easier to fall through. And it's also, the tangle is where most things live. Critters, creatures, creepies, crawlies. And so there's also, a concern there, even if he falls through and he doesn't slip all the way down to the sink or the depth or the eaves below, miles and miles down, even if he catches on something lower, it puts him in prime territory to be a snack for something else.
Cal readies his pistol. It is like, Reese, the best thing we can do is give him a quick death, right?
Oh my god.
And Reese is like, no, what do you know? Absolutely not. We're going to try and save him.
You would have him fall to the tangle? You know it's down there. It could be anything.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I couldn't quite hear
One
it.
minute, Captain. We'll be right with you. I just think we should consider it, because if not, we're going to have even
He
bigger...
can overhear everything. He's you have to basically
Reese and
yell.
Cal are also like far
Yeah.
enough apart. You can't. It's not a whispering distance. But there is also the melody playing, right? Which is also kind of making everything feel, I imagine, in this moment, a little more chaotic, right? Like things are collapsing around you, and also this like sad piano tune is just playing, like.
In an island in the sun.
It's Lil Wayne's Island in the Sun.
Island Holiday, please.
Yeah.
How
we were
far
listening
is
to that on the
everyone?
pre-show.
How far is everyone from each other, like, distance-wise?
Like 15, 20 feet, but at different like kind of levels. Yeah.
Okay. And is our harpoon gun on the boat movable, or is it mounted to a specific spot?
I don't know. Let's talk about that. We have not talked about the fact that the ship has a harpoon gun, which is one of the things that you guys chose when you were building it. Oh, you have a harpoon turret, to be clear.
Oh, so a turret
It's on
seems
the
less
deck.
movable, huh?
I think it's probably mounted near the front. But I imagine like it's you're at an angle. I'd say that you're at an angle right now. You could turn to the side and aim down still, and probably, if you wanted to shoot, let's read what a harpoon turret does real quick for the listening audience. Harpoon turret, it's a deck armament. It fires barbed spears for piercing the hulls of ships and the hides of larger creatures. It deals massive, long-ranged spike damage.
It's also good for rescuing friends, captains.
So maybe as we see Cal and Reese, having this kind of exchange in the immediate aftermath of, like, the building has sunk lower, right? There's the sound of snapping branches and creaking wood and, like, the piano playing. And they're starting to, like, yell at each other a little bit to try and figure out a plan. Let's cut the camera back really quickly to Hexam on the deck.
Yeah.
Hexam, I think you're up there. I think, like, Ixtalbor is rushing up from the galley as well at the sound of the structure crashing below, right? And so, from where you're at on the deck, I think you described yourself as like I think he made you a nice calming tea a minute ago. I imagine this is like you sipping on the mug, right? And you can, from where you were, you could see them as they were crawling in through one of the broken windows into the structure. And it's like watching it, and then, instantly snap. Branches are breaking, and it's just almost like it's swallowed by the canopy as it sinks below.
So I can't actually see them.
No, I think that you can see is like the disturbed thrash. I think you can get maybe through glimpses, right? You can see that the structure hasn't fallen all the way down, but it has gone down like 15, 20 feet lower, so it is like mostly concealed by the canopy now. You can see that it has not... This isn't a tragedy yet. They have not gone plummeting all the way to the depths, but you've seen that it's fallen... and that it hasn't fallen all the way, but you don't have like a clear line of sight.
So it's not a tragedy yet. Maybe I shouldn't make it a tragedy by trying to fire this harpoon gun into there to latch onto... My thought was maybe latch onto some piece of, like, of the building that would be falling, that would give everyone something sturdy to, like, hold onto, and then try to reel that bad boy in.
Hey, well, I mean, it's not a bad idea, considering
It is one
other
idea.
option right now is just
falling.
Yeah.
The idea of harpooning one of my crew members as I shoot into the darkness of the thrash is a little scary. But
And so I think Ixtalbor, comes rushing up, right? This big Ectus man. He's like a cactoid, I think he's got like an apron on, that is, like he's kind of jostling up, and maybe even a little out of breath as he gets to the deck. Hexam, what's going on? What happened? He's looking around, and he can see also now that the structure has fallen, and he looks to you.
What happened is an underestimation of what weight this could hold. I think we see Hex look to the harpoon gun. He's getting these ideas going. Then turns back to Ixtalbor and goes, well, let's try a rope. Instead of immediately trying to harpoon something in there. But I think that is something that can be put on the back chemical stove and maybe be revisited. But first we can just try getting some kind of rope in there with... I imagine it's a boat. There's going to be all sorts of odds and ends and pieces that just you would have on a research vessel. I imagine there's it's just like a broom handle kind of, and Hex takes it, he tries to break it over his knee, can't do it, hands it to Ixtalbor. Ixtalbor breaks it.
Snap, yeah.
Just in his hand.
Not even over his knee.
Doesn't
just
even
like,
use
just
the-
like
in
that.
his hands,
handles
it, and I think that, Hex is going to do some quick knotting with the rope that would be like here on deck, and to try to give like handles for someone to grab onto, so it's not just a rope, and lasso it into the as close as he can to where he would imagine people might be, and go all aboard.
Oh, that's a fun action. Okay, yeah. You're gonna toss a rope down there as like a safety line. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Let's talk about what that would look like as a roll.
Mm-hmm.
What edge do you want to use for this?
Probably, I guess, sharps. Just edge of logic, wit, planning, making plans for what needs to happen in these moments.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, right. You're thinking quickly, right? This is about like what's the thing that we're going to need most likely here, and acting quickly to produce you're kind of like creating something here, even if it's just like a rope and a handle. But I like that. So sharps is good. What skill do you think is at play here?
Rattle. I think that is taking oddment salvage into turning it into workable equipment in a pinch.
I'll take rattle for this. So right now that is 3 dice. Is there an advantage here that you could claim?
Advantage? I mean, again, using tool belt, just making a craft a one-track creation, or is that would that be a bigger project than simple rope?
So the way rattle hand works, or the way the tool belt ability works, it says once per scene you can swiftly craft a one-track creation without needing to roll, but you still consume salvage as normal.
Okay.
So I think this is actually a little lower tech than that.
Okay.
Because the tool belt ability, is something I'm excited for you to use. But I think that you can kind of
This is just lower tech. Okay.
think more ambitiously, right?
Yeah,
if you wanted to make like a grappling gun that you fired into there.
God damn, should have made a
That's
grappling
where
gun.
that's where tool belt would come in. But just like tying a rope
Just
and throwing it,
rope through a window.
yeah, is
My
less.
invention.
Yeah.
First off, it's lowering a rope into a window with hopeful precision.
Yes. But I think if you wanted to, like your deckside engineer, right, could maybe come in here. Tiny incremental adjustments that you make without thinking keep your vessels whole and superstructure shape. You could maybe play that as like this is like your knowledge of the ship and where things are.
Right.
You know exactly what piece of rope and what you're probably tying this to I did some boat research. A cleat is like a little T-bar, like a metal thing that's on the deck that you tie. So you know where the cleat and the rope are to be able to do this rapidly and efficiently. If you want to,
that
that
sounds
opens
great
up
to me.
deckside engineer. I think as a trait that could be damaged if you fail the roll here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just like knowing where I can tie this rope off to just allow people to climb up it, especially our dear Claremont.
Yeah. So I'll give you a 1d6 for that. I think you could also take 1d6 here from having Ixtalbor to help. If you.
I'll take all the help I can get.
So that is going to be sharps 1d6 plus rattle. That's 2d6. And then 2d6 for advantage, because you have Ixtalbor here helping you, and you're kind of like invoking your aspect.
That's 5?
So that is 5 dice.
Let's go.
However,
Let's go.
before you roll that, we need to talk about cuts.
Right.
Cuts remove results after the roll, starting with the highest die, and they can be used if something is particularly difficult. However, you can also cut for precision. So right now you're trying to like get that rope down there to them. If you want to like aim this, right, to try and get it through like a window or somewhere where it's going to be close and get into the interior where they can see it, I think that requires cutting for precision. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to get a rope down there, but it might not be, like right next to them, right where you're trying to get it to.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, cool. Then I will roll 4.
So you're gonna roll 5, but on the dice roller, on the Wildsea digital character sheet, you can add 1 to the cut when you roll. And so it'll do the cut for us, which is really nice. A cool thing that this, once again, shout out to the Wildsea digital character sheet.
I really thought of it all.
We'll link to that in the show notes. And if you are running Wildsea digitally, it is one of the best tools in the world.
It's really,
really excellent. Okay. So if you want to roll 5 with a cut of 1.
So I just set it to 1, and let's roll 5. Here we go. Yeah. Hopefully you guys get to climb up this rope. 5, 4, 6, 3, 2.
All right, and so the cut means
why did I count
6.
it 5, 6, 4, 3, 2? That's
I
crazy.
It does list the dice in descending number order, I noticed, which is actually kind of helpful. So yeah, you rolled a 6 here, but because of the cut of 1, that 6 is nullified. It is removed, which does mean that this will be a 5 instead of a 6. A 6 would have been a triumph. A 5 or a 4 is a conflict. It is a success with a drawback, which usually marks or clears a box on some kind of track. It could be damage, or it could be me advancing a different track, but it is still success. And so, this is classic. Shout outs to Austin Walker. 2 things happen at once here, which is you've got this broom handle tied around the rope with some extra knots as like hand and foot holds along the length. And like I said, you've got kind of a patchy like sight line below, right? You can't see the full structure anymore because it's sunk down, but like the disturbance of the canopy means that like you can still see, there are gaps in the tree line. And I think that means like, as you're aiming, you see the window that they went through. Yeah. And helpfully, some of the extra glass that was around there has been broken out by this last little crash. And, Hexam, your boy's got an arm. I think that you do throw this thing, and I think Cal and Reese, you two are inside the structure, right? And Claremont is wiggling in his hanging from this this balcony, and this is like maybe right after the possibility of executing the captain has been brought up.
Yeah, not that seriously.
You hear like a faint clatter from above, and then falling in through the window, right, hanging, there is a rope. That is weighted at the end by like a piece of like broom handle. There are knots in it, and I think it lands kind of like hanging from that window that's above Claremont now, and it is kind of hanging there in the center of this room now, and that's still a success with a drawback, right? And so on a success here, Claremont shouts like, "Huh!" And he like looks up, trying to see, and he can't see you through the gap, Hexam, but he desperately reaches forward, he grabs the rope, and he yanks on it once, twice, 3 times, and from up on the deck, Hexy, you can feel those yanks. Yeah. You can see someone's gotten hold of it, and I think distantly, kind of echoing from below, like, "Hex, thank you." And he grabs the rope. He puts one foot on one of these like knots. Other foot reaches up at the shoulder, and he's able to kind of lift himself and unhook his suspender, kind of bandolier, from the banister, the broken balcony, and he pulls his weight onto the rope. And I think as he's doing so, he leans forward, and like a pair of reading glasses in one of like the pockets on this bandolier like slips out and falls, glinting in the faint light as it drops down into the abyss of the forest below.
Oh, my glasses.
He can't see without his glasses.
They're his reading glasses. So he's still he's all right now. His like slicked back kind of chestnut brown hair I think is like a little mussed from the fall. But he breathes a heavy sigh of relief, and then he looks down at you, Cal, and you, Reese, and he's like,
I'm like stowing the pistol, and I think talking to Reese is like, whew, that was close.
I think, is everyone okay?
Are you okay?
Yeah. For now, we should move quickly. I suspect this structure is not going to hold for much longer. Let's take a look at what we can, gather any salvage that we can, and then abscond safely. And he I think starts to kind of gingerly swing the rope a little bit to kind of get a foot onto this balcony and kind of pull himself back onto like a more stable footing. However, this was success with a drawback. And so, you hear Hex, you hear the shouts of Claremont from below. He shouts that thank you, and you hear him talking to the folks below, and you can hear their cries and reply. And amongst all of that, also, you can hear, again, the music, right? You feel it, the vibrations, again, Calathiel, as it, like, clicks over, and then a whir as the machinery all starts back up, and the song starts anew. And I'm going to mark the second segment on this secret track, because the sounds of this music and the cries of the crew as they work their way through this pre-Verdant piece of salvage is echoing out across the Wildsea, and other things can hear it, not just you. I think, you're kind of like leaning over the side of the deck a little bit, right? I don't know if you're still holding the ropes, Hex, or like what you've done here. Maybe like securing them to like the railing as well, getting like a second like anchor point. Ixtalbor puts like one large hand on your shoulder, right? And I think Ixtalbor is a conscientious crewmate. His hands and his forearms, I think, are like strategically plucked so that the spines there have been removed, so he can interact with you guys without the risk of a
slap on the
amateur.
back. God, yeah.
No amateur acupuncture from your chef, from your char, as the Wildsea calls them. And he's quiet, and normally that big toothy grin is almost always on display, but I think he's got like his close-lipped, a serious expression on this like eyeless vegetable face, and with his other hand, like one thick green finger, he points out across the waves, and you can see atop the thrash slinking. They're hard to see at first, and it's one shape, and then as your eyes adjust, you see more of them, and they're in the distance, but they are kind of an arc of them moving forward. These shapes, a lot of creatures didn't make it through the Verdancy. There are a lot of animals that perished and were not able to adapt to this new world. Entire ecosystems that did not survive the transition to this new bizarre world of forests. But there are still wolves on the Wildsea.
Okay.
But they have changed. The wolves on the Wildsea have adapted to life on the branches amidst the Cresrin-tinged leaves. They are pin wolves now. Their limbs replaced with their limbs, kind of giving them their names. These like sharp stiletto pin-like limbs that they use to pierce their way through the branches and foliage. They are longer. They are leaner. But they are hungry. They are vicious and cunning. And they are one of the kind of most common, but still most dangerous threats on the Wildsea, even to trained sailors. They seem almost omnipresent. If they were fading in our world, they are thriving in the environment of the Wildsea. And so I think you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shapes kind of spread out in an arc, fanned out, but converging, moving slowly towards the sound of this music. You have time. They are off in the distance. They are still just faint, And I think, Hex, maybe you wouldn't have seen them, right? But like Ixtalbor's like the one who's able to, like as he's holding your shoulder, right? It says his finger reached out, pointing 1, 2, 3. A life on the Wildsea has given him a trained eye for it, or maybe it's his own strange vision, right? His eyeless vegetable vision, like whatever grants him sight, perhaps better suited to picking out their indistinct, dusky camouflage.
But would we inside have any awareness of this? Like, can we hear them coming or anything?
No, they're pretty far out still. They're, they are a looming threat. They are not a present threat. As I think at this point, I'm willing to reveal. I can actually transmit it to the chat one more time. Shout out to the Wildsea digital character sheet.
Transmitting to chat.
Music draws attention. This is like a 3-segment clock. This is the one that you've been filling, and more loud noises or just time passing will cause this 3rd segment to fill. And when it does, these pinwheels will have arrived. Right, the music will have drawn attention. But right now, you still got an unmarked segment on that track. They are not an imminent threat until that has been filled. How long will it take to fill that? That's up to us and the dice. But there is a moment now, I think, of I don't know if I'd call it calm, right? But like the imminent threat inside the structure has passed as Claremont has managed to stabilize himself, and this rope is hanging now, right? It is, I think its bottom, the wooden anchor, right, is low enough that it is kind of hanging right above the pit. And so you guys now all have a line you could climb out of here on. I'll give that as a success, right? On Hex, that was not like, there's no gotcha on like the rope stability. It's you've securely tied a line that will let you get in and out of the pre-Verdant structure safely. So you have some time here, but also like the structure's not stable. You know that. I think you can hear and you can feel, Cal, because we've talked. You used it last time. You have this kind of vibrational sensory apparatus, right, that lets you pick up these like minute changes in like. You can like feel that the wood underneath this mechanical player piano is like slowly creaking and straining, right? Like its weight is too much for this structure to bear. It will eventually be the thing that causes all of it to come crashing down. And also, I'll say this, like, just to be, I'm an honest GM. This is a very valuable piece of salvage.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I was going to look to Cal and go, like, or I was probably going to yell, like, do we have time to hoist this up? This is a nice bit of salvage here. I think it'd be worth more than just a handful of scratch in Caldermere. This is a good bit of barter right here. We could really use it. Do we have time?
Are you kidding? This wonder?
Yeah, this thing is, it has the tag ornate. It has far more worth than usual, right? And it would also count as cargo. It would not just be a resource, right? It would not just be salvage. It would be cargo if you can get it out in one piece.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Cal, seeing this anchor here, even with that groaning and straining, it's like we really only have one chance to try and like reverse Buster Keaton fall this out of the building. So I think that is going to be my move. Like, I'm going to try and we need to get across this gap here to like fix the anchor line to this player piano, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in this moment of calm, I think getting across that gap for you, if you're just taking your time and not trying to do anything fancy, like, I think Claremont can swing that rope across the gap to you and let you cross the other side without, I don't know, I'm not still going to call for a roll there.
Okay. Well, I think that's like my plan, because I think Califield can see that this is a special object, not something you see every day. And I think just the salvager like instinct is prickling.
Yeah, I think Claremont kind of, gets himself onto that balcony. Or actually probably do from here is lower himself to the same part of the balcony that Reese is on.
He's going lower. Great.
He's going lower.
Really?
He's joining the guys in the salvage, right? Yeah.
I want him out. I'll see.
Yeah. And so I think you can feel that, the rope sway and thing. And you can tell, I think after a second, Hex, no one's coming up yet. And so, I think Reese Claremont climbs down and then kind of gingerly steps onto the balcony to then get on, like, the kind of wall floor where you're at, on the second floor of this building. And then he swings that rope, grabs it and swings it a little bit and lets it swing towards you, Cal, so you can grab hold of it.
Cool. I guess I'm gonna try and leap and grab that and like swing across the gap.
And I think you do. You know what I mean? Like this is the stuff you guys are not trained.
Right.
Well, yeah, kind of trained. This is what you've done before. You're not totally green. It's scary, probably, right? Swinging over this open, yawning chasm.
But I think Cal's probably done this before, in like just delving, and I think again like kind of probably swings off the rope, tucking into the ball form of the isopod, and
form,
like Samus and Metroid, of the ball form of my isopod armor, and I think rolls maybe to the corner, kind of just riding the momentum out, probably a little bit like a bowling ball here.
Okay. So yeah, Cal, you have just swung across the chasm and kind of, pillbug rolled your way onto the remaining section of the floor/wall. I think the thing that stops your momentum is probably the bar, right? Which is along the length of this back wall. And so as you kind of, get back up, you are, a few feet away from the piano is against this back wall, right? It is a few feet away from you. And it is lying on its back on what is the floor now. And then, to your kind of, at the very rear of this building, the thing that you bumped into, now kind of running vertically because of the twisted orientation, is the bar itself. And I think, you can see most of the bottles and glass that was back there have come tumbling out of the cabinets. There's broken glass all over the floor here and around this, kind of falling apart structure. But I think there probably are still, some bottles that have, like, through luck or, just, like, the way they were wedged into certain places. There are bottles along that rear wall that are still intact in cabinets there, a tempting target for someone who want to do a little salvaging. Mm-hmm. And then, a few feet away is the piano. And I think we can probably, get everyone together here also. I imagine, like, Reese and Claremont kind of clamber over this balcony to lower themselves on the floor, and the three of you are on the remaining section of wall. The chasm is over there. The piano player is in the middle of its most recent loop of the tune. The line that Hexam threw is hanging down in the center of this chasm, but not so, like, I think you could reach out and grab it and pull it to you from the edge still. It is not, like, out of reach. And, I think Claremont takes a moment here just to, like, I think he doesn't look scared, and he doesn't even really look that frazzled. I think he looks excited, right? He looks like someone who just rode a roller coaster. I think he's got kind of a big, awkward smile on his face, and his hair is a little messed up, but he's like, he's looking around. And Cal, maybe this is like your moment of, he's told you this as much before, but this is kind of one of Claremont's first times out in the wild, entering a pre-Verdant ruin. Almost all of his study has been the things that his family brought back on their merchant vessels, right? This is his first time, like, out there in a relic pushed up to the top of the waves. And, I think to that end, I think he starts walking in kind of just like, like marveling, he's reaching down and picking up like pieces of glass, right? Looking at labels and, kind of in a moment of reverie here. And then meanwhile, Hex, up above, you have successfully, you threw that anchor down. It is in place, and someone got on it for a little bit earlier. You felt it moving, but no one has made their way back up at this point, and Ixtobor has pointed out that the pinwolves are off in the distance, but seem to be kind of in a wide fan moving closer. So from there, let's keep it moving. What's the next action? What's happening here? We can zoom in or zoom out as needed. But there's a very valuable piece of salvage there. There's an approaching threat.
I think just Hex shuts down. It sure sounds beautiful down there. We've got a minute, but would love to see you guys back on deck when you're ready.
I think Cal's like, what do you mean we have a minute? These things take time. Can't rush this. I think like kind of barking up his, back up the.
We could
rope.
do it expeditiously, hopefully.
Reese, give me a hand with this.
And I think Ixtobor looks at you, Hex, and raises like one like brow ridge. There's no eye there, but still kind of like a quizzical eyebrow raise and is like trusting your judgment here to not put them on high alert yet.
Well, yeah, I think Hex is doing it for a reason. In a precarious situation like this, it is going to be, if they're going to try to get that, it is going to be better to make them move with confidence and not try to rush things. I see them coming. I let Ixabor know we're gonna get them out, but there's no need having them make some stupid quick decisions if they're gonna try to grab that.
I think he looks at you and then kind of nods, walks to the other side of the deck to keep an eye on the threat, and I think you see him checking. I think Ixtabor probably has like a fucking huge cleaver, like a kind of a butcher's knife cleaver, right on his waist, and he's like pulling that out and just like checking the sharpness, looking at it, and then eyes out on the waves ahead.
Also with this, I think that this is Hex. I don't know if we actually talked about it. He wears like his gloves with the little metal fingertips. I think that's where he can kind of do a snap motion maybe, and just be like, if they get too close, we can deal with them, because he can shoot lightning from his hand as one of his very
Palpatine style
cool lightning call Tempest trait that he has. So
we haven't gotten to see Hex do a lot of his Tempest stuff yet, so I think that'll be an interesting possibility if it does arrive. Hex has encouraged everyone to move with alacrity, with speed down there.
Alacrity, beautiful. Ooh, didn't it?
Yeah.
Writing that one down.
Hopefully I used it right. Reese, what's up with Reese? How's Reese feeling in all of this? Reese, this is also kind of like one of your first times doing this kind of thing, really, right?
Thrilled to be here.
But I mean, is Reese like nervous, excited? Like, what's the vibe he's got right now?
Oh, excited. Yeah.
So maybe it's Reese and Claremont, both kind of looking around without the sense of urgency that I'm sure Hex wishes they had. There's stuff lying around, you know what I mean? Like, there's salvage here. The piano's obviously...
This junk, isn't it neat?
There is salvage here that's not beyond just this this piano, right? There is other stuff around. If someone wanted to, like, spend time trying to collect salvage, that's, like, a thing.
Can I just grab, like, a couple pocketfuls of scratch?
I mean, yeah, that's, like, assumed you're always going to have.
Okay.
Scratch is what the game refers to as just kind of, like, loose little things that you have on you. Stuff that you can exchange for, like, whatever you need in the moment. The game doesn't care about, like, spending cash, as it were. And so scratch is this kind of thing that it's assumed whenever you arrive in, like, a settlement or wherever, you'll have a little bit of. It's just, like, the little odds and ends of salvage, like little flywheels, little, like, pieces of glass or... scrap metal or whatever it is that you might be able to kind of exchange for an easy service that doesn't require like a more substantial trade. That's scratch. And so this is also, probably is a time when you would be snagging the bits and bobs that make up that scratch. Cal, that piano's there. It's, you can hear it kind of starting to turn over again. It's about to reach a new loop in the song.
Just to clarify, is there like a effect of hearing the music? Is there some, kind of like spookiness going on? Because when we heard it drifting through the leaves, I wasn't sure if it was like there's actually like a whisper type deal occurring here, or is it like just haunting and weird because you're hearing player piano and in the middle of the woods?
I think it's just haunting and weird. It's playing a sad song, and it's like, and it's worth, like, this is always tricky when you're playing in the realm of fantasy, right? It would feel spooky and weird in real life if you were walking in the woods one day and you, like, turned off a path and there was a piano playing all by itself in the woods, right? And that's just in our world, right? And this is a world where, like, this might be the first time ever that Cal has heard a piano, right? Like, this is probably the first time you've ever seen this particular instrument. So it's not just that it's, like, to us, it's a saloon upside down into the trees, but to these characters, it's worth stating, like, you've probably never seen a piano before. You know what I mean? You've probably never heard one played. I mean, depending on who you are or where you've lived, you might have never heard music in this way ever. You know what I mean? You might come from a place where all music is song, right? Where it's just all like vocal, like singing, right? Or percussion. And like, there's so many possibilities of like what this. The unrealness of this, I think, is worth mentioning. And so, like, it's not having yet, per se. I always reserve the right to keep this in my back pocket. But I would say there's not, like, some kind of, like, blatantly supernatural effect happening right now.
Okay.
But there is the effect of, like, hearing haunting music unlike everything you ever heard before. Like, in the wake of a natural disaster type event that's the same one that disconnected you from your home.
Okay, I'm essentially just trying to get close enough to this. I think Cal has equal parts anticipation and anxiety over getting close to, because he's a little wigged out over this. Things can break bad. This has, I guess, all the telltale signs of sort of cursed treasure. I'm trying to just fasten this player piano to our anchor line so we can get out of. I'm hoping that this can kind of raise up on the winch and we can take it with us.
I think right now that's not on a winch. It is like a piece of rope that's tied to the deck.
Oh, so when you said anchor line, okay.
It's not like an anchor line. It is just it's a piece of rope with like a broom handle attached that Hex threw down. If you wanted to try and get an anchor line down, that would probably be more sufficient for the task of carrying the weight of a piano, and that could be a roll here. But the thing that Hex threw down,
it's not enough. Yeah,
it's meant for people to ascend.
Well, I guess with that, to back up a little bit, I misunderstood the anchor part. So that is a good plan. That's not the current plan. I'm probably going to grab whatever I can carry from behind this bar, and I'm going to try and get up on deck and kind of put this plan into motion. But I need to get more resources before we do.
Run me through what this looks like.
Well,
exactly.
I'm behind the bar, right? And so there's bottles and glass. I mean, anything that looks like an old bottle of wine or anything sealed, I guess anything liquid in particular here in the Wildsea is probably inherently valuable, especially something old.
They got any Vesper lights down there?
Yeah, blowing the dust off of an ancient, futuristic-looking beer can. Are
you just because we could do a roll here just to dig around for regular salvage and see what you guys can find, which will probably be not necessarily a roll with a great risk, but time will pass if you're spending time doing that as opposed to.
Well, I know the window of opportunity is closing, but that's all the more reason to line my pockets.
Yeah. Okay. So is that like the?
Oh yeah.
You're gonna take some time to look for regular salvage before you deal with the piano. Is that the?
I guess so, because to even get it down here, I need to probably communicate upwards. We need the anchor. But yeah, I'm here. I have this kind of cloak jacket thing. I think 6 arms working their way through the bar, just sort of stuffing stuff into pockets. I'm not even really taking time to look at it too closely here, I don't think.
Pinwolves draw closer.
Yeah. I think that is a roll, right? To salvage stuff here there is danger here as an element because there's both the pinwolves and the structural integrity thing.
Listen, guys, as a dredger, you know what? There's always danger around, okay? There's always structural integrity to worry about. But me, I'm an expert.
Let's run through real quick. What are you going to roll here? Because this is a dice roll, I think, to salvage, to spend time salvaging, especially with the other elements in play, is going to, have risk and take time. But it could also benefit. It could be reward, right? So let's run through. What's the roll you think for digging through this stuff for salvage?
Oh, I think tides and delve.
So tides, the edge of exploration, learning, and lore. Delve is the skill of dust, remnants of forgotten ways, using it to explore ruins of the old world, traversing barriers and unearthing secrets. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That is 3d6 to start. You have 2 in delve and then 1 for your edge.
Is there a cut?
That's a great question. I think there's a cut of 1 here because the waves seem callous and unpredictable. You have a mire right now, and you're taking time to to dig around, to spend extra time in an unstable, creaking structure. I think that's a cut of 1 to act against this mire.
Okay.
Do you have something giving you an advantage here? If Reese is joining you, I think that could be an advantage. If Reese is also salvaging at the same time.
I'll help out. I'll join.
By helping, you also involve yourself in the danger.
Mm-hmm.
But the danger also kind of involves you either way. So why not help, right?
So that's 4d6 and 1 cut.
Yes, 46 with a cut of 1.
Okay, rolling.
This is kind of an acquisition roll to gain resources.
That's a 5, a 2, and a 2.
Oh, nice. And so there's a twist there.
Getting a lot of those. Guess I'm just lucky.
That's a conflict. A success with a drawback, right? Let's talk about the success here first.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk about what the drawback is. I think as the 3 of you start kind of filling your pockets, grabbing things, right? A lot of what you're grabbing is what Malcolm referred to earlier, scratch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just little bits of salvage that are not worth us marking on a character sheet, but are bits and bobs that you'll be able to trade, when you are getting, just like your daily supplies and like, kind of the little things the ship needs the next time you get into port, right? That is a big part of what you're grabbing. But as you start kind of digging around, I think you quickly realize that this is an untouched ruin. Other people haven't gotten here yet. And so I think as a twist, I'm actually going to give you like 2 pieces of salvage for this roll.
Okay.
I think that maybe if that's cool with you guys as a twist. It's like there's more here than you even realized.
That's cool.
Like I said, most of these bottles are busted up, broken, or they're like, the seal has been cracked. They've gone sour. You can tell they've gone sour. But I think kind of like in the corner behind the bar, wedged in by other things that have like fallen and broken, and there is and this is a specimen, I guess, that you can take. This is a pre-Verdant bottle of wine, or a pre-V bottle of wine. This is intact, and this might be, using one of the tags here in the game. I think this is like a heirloom pre-Verdant wine, worth more than like a regular bottle of like liquor pulled out of something, right? And maybe it's got like you can tell it's like this would have been a nice bottle of like wine before the verdancy, right? Like it's got like a kind of an etched gold foil on the bottle itself, like maybe kind of like a more like a crystal topper where the cork is or something.
This is fancy. This is like
fancy.
it's like a fancy decanter. Okay.
Yes. And I think the other thing that you find down here is a rusty 6-shooter. I think maybe Reese, this is like you find this like underneath one of the tables, right? Actually, it's under the table, and it's like the leather has started to rot away, but it's still barely hold on. Like underneath the table, someone had kind of like a hidden like revolver holster under one of these tables.
The old barkeeper's friend.
And so there's this like I think it's a rusty 6-shooter, and this is a piece of salvage as well.
Well, surely this won't come into play in Act 3. All right, I definitely maybe take it out. Do I know what this is?
Calathiel has a gun. Calathiel has a black market pistol. It's and so I think like firearms exist on the Wildsea. I think they kind of run the gamut from like black powder weapons, like muskets, and like really very simple firearms. And I think at their most like extravagant, you see, you guys have a harpoon turret. I think like revolvers, kind of like lever action rifles, like those kinds of things are rare to see.
Shinzo
they're
Abe
usually
shit.
Yeah, they're usually pre-Verdant, but like and so this thing, is a rusty 6-shooter, will it shoot? Is a question to ask. Yes.
Can I use my I have a Master Salvager trait, which lets me add a positive tag of my choice to any salvage I acquire from wrecks, reefs, or ruins. Can I add a positive tag to the 6-shooter? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, what do you got?
Like, in my head, I have 2 thoughts. One is, like, repairable, or it's, like, legendary. Like, it belonged to someone whose name is on the handle, a long time ago.
Those are both interesting.
I was about to say, like, something ornate, or it's got a nice pearl inlaid handle.
In that case, like an ornate rusty revolver.
Like, just needs a little polish.
Okay, cool. I'm adding the ornate tag to that.
Cool, yeah. And I don't know if you guys want to split that up, or how you guys want to divide those 2 pieces of salvage, but I think you were able to recover that.
Maybe that's like, Calathiel's like picking it up, looking at it. I think even kind of like wipes part of it off with the edge of a cloak or something, where we can see there's a little bit of the, pearl-handled plate or something. And it's like, oh, hey, Reese, you take this one.
Tosses it to me.
Yeah.
Number one rule of gun safety: have a blast.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And I learned that from Peter Loftus.
That's right.
Yes, we've got this ornate rusty revolver, and we've got this heirloom pre-Verdant liquor bottle. However, this was a partial success. This was a conflict, not a triumph. And so I think as you all are kind of crowded near the bar, you've kind of brought all of your weight together. And I think we hear another kind of heavy creak as you are all gathered. And you said that the building was split in half before, Calathiel. And that wasn't true then. That was some cognitive foresight you were deploying. Because I think we see kind of like along the roof line of this thing, a crack starting to appear along, like appear and spread along the kind of central roof beam. The music starts over, right? The apparatus, this kind of big, you know how music boxes have that kind of like wheel inside of them with all of the little different knobs that are being hit by the tines and it's producing the music?
Yeah.
I think there is this kind of mechanical wheel thing that is like in the kind of center of this piano, always turning, with more pieces, but this is like the thing that is kind of driving the engine of the piano.
Okay.
And that thing stops. And you can feel, again, because you've got this vibrational, like, sensory apparatus, you feel that, like, the tension of a spring as it tightens, and then the kick as it releases, and the wheel starts to spin again. And with that kick, again, there's suddenly, like, a louder tearing of wood parting from wood. The building starts to lurch as it's almost kind of tearing in half. The bottom half, the wall that you're on is the floor, lurches slightly. Not at the same extreme angle before, but I think it's canted with the weight of the piano a little bit as the roof starts to tear apart. This structure is in imminent danger of collapse. And up on the deck, I think you can hear, Hexam, the sound of further structural damage.
Yeah.
And the wolves are slinking closer, but they're not ready to charge in. You know what I mean? I'm not marking that clock yet,
Okay.
but I think you can see that they're taking like they're spread out, right? They are creating like a fan of movement as they are kind of slowly closing in. And when they arrive, it will not be from like one singular direction, but it'll almost be like a pincer of wolves, pretty cannily coming at you guys from all angles. Claremont, gripping the bar to steady himself as the building shakes and starts to tear open. And whether this is helpful or not, there is now also kind of on the side of the structure a big yawning open chasm. Big enough that you could probably try and lift the piano out through it with the right anchorage. Or, if you wanted to be quick and brutal, you could probably bust this thing apart and get some valuable salvage, but you wouldn't have anything as valuable as, like, the cargo. Do you want to destroy a beautiful thing?
No, like, I think Cal is actually, like, would sort of, like, almost prefer to go down trying. It is sort of, like, still trying to figure out a way to make this thing, like, come with us. Even though these pinwolves are approaching, but...
Which you don't know. You don't know that pinwolves are approaching.
Oh,
Hex has
I
not
just know that we have time. Our time is running out.
Well, I mean, we're
have
sort
a
of like
moment.
this house or this building is sort of cracking open like an egg, and we are the yolk about to be spilled into the skillet, which is the tangle.
Yes. That's a beautiful way to describe it.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to be the fucking GM? Is that what's going on, Mel?
I'm here to
Oh, you think you're so good at it? Yeah, why don't you make a food acronym or analogy?
See, that's why Pete can't do it.
I can't do this shit. I told
the
you.
food acronym now.
What is
Egg.
it?
Excellent.
E-G-G.
Gaming.
Guild.
God. That's me, baby. I'm the egg.
I'm the egg.
Who do you think you are? I am.
So I guess, I think like Cal's kind of gonna try and yell up to Hex, where it's like, lower the anchor. We need the anchor down here.
Okay. I think looking to Ixtalbor,
Heading on over. All right. Okay. Sounds good to me.
yeah, we it can be dropped for a minute, but can't wait to get to Caldermere.
Are you expecting someone? Are you meeting someone here?
There are things on this Wildsea that I don't think you guys want to meet in that hole. Let's get on the ship and we'll talk about it here, huh?
Just lower the anchor. I can't talk about this right now.
Okay. Lowering the anchor. I think that I get why that would be the move. So turning to Ixtalbor, kind of setting things into motion. Maybe this is a little deckside engineer type of element of like, I know how the ship works. I know the incremental things I need to do. It's not hard to drop that anchor. And I am one
It's not
step.
hard to do it at all. I do it all the time,
I am
in fact.
a step away from just shouting pinwolves down at them. But yeah, I'll start dropping it for Cal at his Request.
I'm not gonna make you roll to like drop the anchor, right? You know, like we talked about, you have like an anchor system. There's probably different like weights and lengths of chain and anchor that you can drop. There's probably one on that side of the ship. You know, I imagine at the helm you've got like there's toggles for the different anchors. And so I think, you know, right, you make your way to the pilot's cabin. Ixtobor again, just like looking at you, and then back out at the kind of prowling shapes on the surface of the Wildsea. And then there's the sound of chain slipping out through one of the like kind of anchor ports as it opens, and you know, I imagine it's probably some kind of like, you know, yeah, kind of like almost like a grappling hook on a big length of like sturdy chain that kind of starts to slide down through, and the weight of it carries it through the kind of disrupted tangle here, or disrupted thrash rather, and kind of like through the kind of yawning crack in this wall now that has started to appear. I think, you know, you can see sunlight faintly glittering off of it, the anchor starting to lower into your area of influence crew down there. You know, I think there's an element here of having to like kind of get out there and grab it, bring it in, and you know, properly attach it to this piano. But is that the plan? You're going to try and, you know, walk me through what the move is here.
Well, we talked before about the anchor on the Wildsea being probably a lot of different varieties, but ours sort of having like multiple grapple points. And I think one of the benefits of this with the salvager's trade is that you could use it also to lift or kind of put these multiple points towards one thing if you needed, or like one big branch probably if it were an anchor. And I think that's sort of what we're seeing here. So this thing's coming down, you know, I think we're like sort of guiding it into place, trying not to destroy it.
Imagine there's like 4 sort of arms that hook around like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we're like lifting up the player piano and sort of resting it in the crook of 2 of these. And then you and me, Cal, are getting on 2 of the other arms. And then Montclair can sort of ride the player piano like he's riding a mechanical bull. He's sort of doing a reverse Slim Pickens, and he's being, instead of going down, he's going up as he rides this contraption.
Yeah. We're all getting it set up. You know, Cal's like, we've got to hurry. Hexam, I think, has a reservation in Caldermere, and he said our time is running out. So we need to move quickly.
Okay, so let's talk through. This is an action, obviously, right? You guys are, if ever there was an action, you guys are doing a big thing. You're trying to attach this, kind of hook it all up, and then, you know, give the signal to get Hex to pull you up. So who is taking the lead on this one? Reese, I know you haven't had a role in a moment.
It was my idea.
You know, let's work through it. You know, the one step at a time. First, what's the edge that Reese is using?
I guess grace.
Yeah. So Reese's 3 edges are grace, which is an edge of elegance, precision, and agility. Tides, an edge of exploration, learning, and lore. And veils, an edge of shadows, ciphers, and secrecy. And I think grace, you know, like that gives us a good visual image here, right? Which is that like some of this probably is like climbing around, right? Having to like, you know, probably get out, you know, hanging over the looming tangle for a minute as you're like on the anchor, bringing it in. You know, there's an element here where grace is important. I mean, that's another reason that this is Reese versus Calathiel. Calathiel does not have grace, I don't believe. And, you know, Calathiel's like a small little pill bug, right? Which is well protected in some ways from the environment, and probably great at clinging on to things, but I imagine is probably like overall less graceful than Reese, who grew up also, as we know, in a tall shank, right? Is in a tree towering above a world of mile-high trees. You've spent your whole life kind of climbing and
swinging about. And,
like you know, a more acrobatic life than Calathiel, who we know you spent a lot of your early years deep below the surface, right? I think you've said that the city you're from existed in a lower level of the Wildsea than is typically lived upon, right, Calathiel?
One of the least graceful levels beneath this this current one.
Where all the clumsiest oafs live.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reese, I think grace is great. What skill are you using here?
So for skills, well, I'll say it's vault. I am swinging about and securing things with grace and agility.
Yeah. Vault is a skill of dizzying heights and impressive acrobatics. You can use Vault to climb, leap, and tumble your way through an environment at speed. And so, I think this makes sense if it's like getting out there to grab the anchor, swinging in with it, kind of setting up the possibility for everyone to be a part of this. I think Vault makes sense. So that is 3d6 right now. And advantages. Are there any aspects that give you an advantage here? Is Reese helping? Is that like a friendly advantage here? Is there something else that I'm not thinking of that could be an advantage in this moment? That's...
Honestly, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, dude, I'm on this rig too. Does having the like kind of lateral line sensory organ like count here, basically like an early warning if there's anything that's going to get the jump on us?
Is that what is Calithiel doing that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like kind of...
I'd say... Yeah. I'd say you can take one advantage dice from Calithiel's help. So that'll put you at 4d6. I do think there's like a cut of 1 here. I think that this is difficult. This is risky. So I think this is 4d6 with a cut of 1.
46 with a cut of 1. 5, 5, 4, 2.
Hey!
So that's a 5. Not bad.
So a 5 is, as we've established before, a conflict. It is not a triumph, but it's not a disaster. It is, what we might call a partial success in some of the other games that we have played.
The piano only comes with 2 songs, and we don't like either of them.
Talk me through the process of it a little bit. Just like give me a little bit of flavor here. You guys are gonna get the piano on the anchor and be able to start lifting it up. That is the success here. So give me a little bit of like, Reese, as you're tying it together, I think you can feel the structure is kind of like starting to collapse a little bit as you guys are like bringing that anchor in, and you're starting to like hook the anchor like prongs into like catch points on the piano, and the shifting weight of the piano is making the entire structure, that weight has been pulling it down, but moving that weight is also causing like new stress points to suddenly like give away. And so I think there's an element here of like it's falling apart as you are doing this.
The piano.
No, not the piano. The building.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm tying it on, and I'm like maybe looking to whoever isn't trying to like climb onto the anchor right now. I'm kind of saying like I don't know what you're waiting for.
It's Claremont. Claremont, right? Is like the last one to get on. He's like
I think I gotta, I have to lean over, maybe the anchor, like we've got it, like the piano fixed on one side, right? I think that like, I've swung across and we've secured the piano to one side on the anchor on one side, and then we've sort of swung over, and as the chasm is getting bigger, the egg is cracking more and more and more. We're swinging over, and like we're not gonna be able to swing all the way back over to get, Claremont on there. He's gonna have to like jump onto the anchor over this chasm, and I think that like I'm gonna like lean over and maybe like I don't know, I'm trying to hold my hand out. He's a big man though, it might might rip my arm right off.
I'm not gonna be any help.
Send us both tumbling into the tangle, but he's gonna have to try. Maybe you can just like give him a hand so that he can like take a big like step forward and put like one foot on the anchor, and I can pull him in so then he can hold on.
Yeah, he kind of has to do like a little bit of like a leaping like running leap of faith onto this like anchor as I think he's coming forward, and it's like I think his hands land like splayed across the top of the piano.
Yeah.
And I think you're both part of this actually, right? So I think you're both able to like from your positions on the anchors grab him by the shirt. Or by like the sleeve or whatever, and kind of drag him up onto the piano as the structure starts to ascend. And I think Claremont like looks up and he just shouts to you, Hexam, like, lift!
Yeah.
And the anchor...
I do.
Yeah, the anchor starts... Yeah, you start to retract the anchor, and it starts to lift up and ascend, and you guys are getting battered by branches. They're kind of slapping against you. I think you feel the sting of like a Crezerin burn on your arm. As you like are brushing, you're brushing against leaves and things that you normally would be able to avoid, as you're just kind of getting pulled up through the fucking thrash towards the ship. it is at that moment that you feel the chain start to sway. And it starts to sway harder as you're rising up. And on the deck, you can feel it as well, Hexam. The ship is starting to sway. And it's probably, it's a shame that you have not finished this detection system yet, because you maybe would have been able to tell that this was about to happen beforehand already.
Steady.
But I am going to mark a segment on the Growing Rootquakes track.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cal's nervous. It's like freaking out now.
Looks
The chain starts to sway as the entire leaves start to kind of shift. The branches are swaying. A rootquake is happening. And you're not at the epicenter, but it is already, you're on the edges of it, and it's starting to arrive as the ship is swaying. And so I think Reese and Cal, as you're getting yanked up, you're swaying, you're kind of like hitting branches, you're hitting like, leaves, you're getting Crezerin burns and like sap on you. I think you're both going to take 1 mark of damage, because you are both a part of this roll. The way this works, whenever you take damage, you choose which aspect it goes into.
What kind of damage is it?
This is... Oh, you have resistances, right?
I do.
This is probably blunt, I think, because it's like the...
I'm getting slapped and beaten
You're
by...
just getting hit. You're just getting, like, jostled around by the rootquake as it's swinging you to and fro.
Yeah.
And the piano's getting, like, scuffed up and marked, but it's still mostly intact. And so you're both going to take 1 blunt damage. If you have resistances to blunt damage, you will instead take no damage, because a resistance reduces damage by 1 mark. Do either of you have resistance to blunt?
No.
Okay, so you both take 1 damage. You choose which aspect gets marked as a signal of this damage. We can talk about what does that look like, you know what I mean? Because it might be physical damage, but it also might be, like, something getting broken in your gear.
I guess I would... Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably, like... I'll mark 1 on the lateral line from getting knocked
So
around
when that
here.
is fully marked, you will not have access to that aspect anymore until you repair it, just to be clear.
I'm going to take the hit on that one, because I imagine it's kind of like... It's like seeing stars, right? Like, it's just kind of confused this
Yeah, you're getting so shaken up. Yeah, the vibrations are overwhelming. That makes a lot of sense, yeah. And, Reese, where are you taking this damage at?
I'm going to take damage to my spore scarf. I think that it probably tears it a little bit in the
you
jostling.
get snagged on branches as you're getting lifted up. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And yeah, the waves are shaking, right? You're on the edge of a rootquake that's starting. And so it's enough to kind of bungle you around, but at last,
Great, now I'm getting bungled?
At last, Hex, you're like hauling the anchor in, and you see it rise above the edge of the thrash. And there's a big mechanical instrument that's playing the melody you've been hearing attached to the anchor. And you can see all 3 of your crewmates riding it.
All right. Well, as they rise up, it turns out our company loves music. Let's get on board. I'll tell you about them when everything's loaded up.
And we can zoom out a little bit here. I think that you have, like, kind of cleared the encounter here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a roll for you getting the piano on deck, right? I think, from this point, once it's up there, Ixtalbor is out there with ropes, right? He's helping you kind of haul it and swing it around to bring it in through the bay doors, right? And get it secured as quickly and as like handily as possible in the cargo bay, so that you can get out of here before these pinwolves arrive. But I think the rootquake has also probably halted their advance, right? Or scattered them. A bunch of them sink beneath the waves as they start to get to a more stable place on the iron roots.
Yeah, I'm glad nature is at least dealing with that element of the threat.
And yeah, there's a minor rootquake happening around here. It's not crazy heavy, but I think it's like kind of building in intensity over time. But you are able to get everyone onto the ship and get that away. And so I'm going to give you a new piece of cargo. You have succeeded here, taking a little bit of damage, but you have gotten a piece of cargo, right? Which is a pre-Verdant mechanical player piano. And, this is, at the fact that it's pre-Verdant and mechanical, I think those are both tags, right? It has complicated machinery in it, and it is pre-Verdant. It is uniquely valuable. I think this will be a powerful bargaining piece for trading away if you want to fix the ship or get new things attached to it. We talked about this before briefly. In this game, additions to the ship or kind of alterations to the ship, handled using a system called stakes. And traditionally, like one piece of regular cargo is basically equivalent to 1 stake's worth of ship alterations or upgrades. This will be worth more than that. For the audience at home, right? We had all of these stakes at the beginning that we used to build the ship. Different things cost different stakes. The loop of the game that we will be looking at as we play is this kind of hauling stuff out, valuable cargo, and then trading it or utilizing it to upgrade the ship or to work on your own things. You could also break this apart into a lot of smaller but useful salvage. For instance, if Hex was trying to build especially because this has the mechanical tag, I think this would give you a lot of things that would be useful for building machinery or inventions, gadgets. And so, again, I think we can kind of zoom out here, but I think Claremont is laughing. He is, smiling as you guys haul it in, as he looks out and sees the shaking bows and the pinwolf scattering, and I think he grabs Reese and he grabs Cal and Hex too, right? Everyone's on board. He pulls you all in for a big hug, and he's laughing and smiling, and he's like, a robust adventure, a true journey on the Wildsea. This is what I've been waiting for all my life. Look at what we've discovered. Have you ever seen anything like it?
No, I can't say that I have. And yes, this is a thrilling adventure. It almost cost us our lives.
No risk, no reward, isn't that right?
Well, we'll see what we can fetch for it.
I think Hex, we'll have to take a look at this. I want you to give me your opinions on the mechanism, and of course, it'd be nice if we could quiet it down. I don't want to hear this the whole ride. And I think from within the hole, you can hear the echoing sound of yeah. And I think we can kind of cut, not hard cut here, but kind of zoom out, and this rootquake is happening, but it's not. It's choppy water. It's not impassable water, and I think it's probably not a great idea to stick around this place when pinwolves have the scent on you. Mm-hmm. And Caldermere still awaits, right? The journey is not over yet.
Yeah, I think in the bay doors where we brought this piano up, the anchor kind of tipped to one side. I think Cal is sort of kind of cowering in a corner, maybe, or not cowering necessarily, but just sort of laid out, sensory, super overwhelmed. He's already got issues with rootquakes. Caldermere's a known center of activity for these rootquakes, but Cal's sort of having a panic attack, very close call. Captain doesn't seem to get it. I think is just sort of nervous, sort of overwhelmed.
I think the vibe here. Claremont has not, I think, fully grasped the closeness to death and danger that we just went through.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Reese fully has either. Maybe is naive. Also, Caesar stressing out. He's like, what? The rootquakes? They happen all the time. I've felt many a rootquake in the bowels of the tall shank from which I came. I don't know why you're so stressed out.
A little different down here.
I think grabbing one of the bottles that was brought up, Hex is about to open it, and Ixtabor maybe just takes it from him. And once again, you have a nice cup of tea to drink right now.
Yeah.
We'll save it for when we get to Caldermere. Fine.
Hand shaking super hard.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Just one more. Finish the cup I didn't get to finish when you guys went down into the...
Yeah. And so we'll continue. This is, like I said, the cycle of the Wildsea. We will continue journeying.
Maybe this is Claremont, actually, since he's the one riding high. He's up anchor, full throttle, at the sort of throwing switches and dials in the pilot's room.
Someone has to rush up there to make sure he doesn't start trying to...
Whoa, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. Tally-ho, we have no time to waste. Yeah. They'll be dying to see this salvage in Caldermere.
In Caldermere, the name is calling in Caldermere.
Oh, that could be the outro.
All right.
Get that
I'm gonna have to strip the vocals from that one, and I'll.
Yeah, Liam, if you could make sure to capture that one. All right, let's journey. Let's wrap this journey up, right? I'm not going to give us the full spiel again, but you know how it goes. There are 2 essential jobs, 2 stations that have to be manned, and then an optional one here.
Ooh, I am imagining that Cal's not really in the mood to pilot.
No, I'm not doing either one of those right now.
Okay.
I think I think Cal is probably not doing the watch or piloting. I think is maybe going to be like, you guys go first. I'll figure it out. I need a second.
Yeah. Who's going to be at the helm? I guess that's the first question.
Yeah, Reese.
I'll try
you wanna do
my
it?
hand at the helm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, that makes sense too, because I think Hex also saw the pinwolves, and maybe that would be a reason to be like, you get up there, I'm gonna keep an eye out, maybe with Ixelbor up here, just making sure things are doing all right.
I think the Cal feels maybe like peeking out from a port hole in the hull or on the side of the boat or something from down here, and I'm gonna just be monitoring the weather. A little paranoid.
Oh, are you going to watch the weather? Are you going to do that?
Yeah.
You could also just choose to not do a task if you want. That's like the other one. You know what I mean? Like, we could, in the fiction, if you're not at a station, you're just assumed to be busying yourself with other jobs around the ship.
No, I think he's steeled himself enough to at least peek out of this little hole.
So yeah, you draw anchor, right? The engine whines, there's like a whir as the chainsaw bite starts to spin again. Reese, would you like to cut a path, forge ahead, or I'm assuming you're not going to drop anchor here.
No, I think we need to forge ahead. We need to get out of here. We need some respite, I believe.
Your passage across the waves is rough but swift, the roar of engines and cracking of branches heralding your arrival. So this will mark 2 boxes on the hidden progress track. And when a watch roll is made, you'll likely blunder straight into whatever encounter is rolled or damage your ship trying to avoid it.
Cool.
You'll move faster, but you won't have as much control. And Hex, do you want to make our watch roll
let's
now,
do it.
and then we can kind of fictionalize what's happening a little bit?
Rolling 1d6. Let's go. 3.
And I am going to roll a hidden 1d6. Reese, you're forging ahead. You're in the driver's seat. What's Reese's kind of vibe? As we've seen everyone at the helm so far. What's Reese's vibe when he's driving this boat? When he's taking the Verdigale on the high seas, how's he controlling it? Is he comfortable? Is he nervous? Is he
I think he looks pretty cool doing it. He's unbuttoned his shirt all the way. He's really moving that helm back and forth.
So comfortable.
Yes, very comfortable, very at ease. Is the helm on the deck?
It's in a pilot's cabin, so you're in kind of
okay.
like a enclosed little like space that has like the wheel and like the control panels for the anchors and for the other engine aspects. It's like not a room full sized, but bigger than like a tractor cabin. Like it's like enough to stand. One or two other people can like get in there with you. Past that, you're like all. You're
So
like
the wind isn't in my hair, but it certainly feels that way.
Yeah, unless you crack a window, you know what I mean.
I have the window cracked. Then get a nice cool breeze going through, and the wind is blowing through my hair, and I'm whipping that helm around like crazy.
Carefree. I like it, and so yeah, we kind of tear through, and there is a choppiness to this ride because the root quake is ongoing. This one is like a kind of a slow roll, right?
Aftershock.
It doesn't like pick up in it. Yeah, it's but not even an aftershock. It feels like the quake itself is just this longer, more drawn out, like slower intensity quake that goes on for hours. You know what I mean? It's not just like a brief one. This is kind of probably very stressful for Calithiel. It's a choppy ride already because Reese is like kind of leaning into the chop a little bit, I imagine, kind of like riding this wave. And Hex, you're on the deck watching. Is that your thing?
Yeah.
And a 3 on the watch roll means that it's a result of nature, an encounter with something born of the wild unknown or a feature of the sea. But before we talk about like what you find next, Cal, you're watching the weather as this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So just like Hex, you're going to roll a 1d6. You're watching the skies to clue you into weather changes before they happen, allowing you to plan for or avoid dangerous weather. You're going to roll 1d6 just as if you were on a normal watch, but there's a different weather watching table that we'll get our results from.
Okay. I'll roll it now. That's a 6, which I was looking at here, and I was like, I got a 9?
So weather watching results on a 6 is clear skies. Whatever the weather was doing before, it clears. For the next part of the journey, you have clear skies, right? It's nice.
Okay.
I think that there's like a nice breeze that picks up. You know what I mean? Like a cooling breeze as you kind of move under the hot midday sun of the Wildsea. That, despite the choppiness of the waves, it's refreshing a little bit. I think for those on deck, it even like is like helps you kind of fight any of the shakiness of the actual choppy ride. That breeze is cooling. It's calming.
And maybe this is like the first moment Calfield chills out like a little bit. It was just anticipating something else bad happening, and like that breeze is sort of the like breath of fresh air.
As this like kind of root quake goes on and kind of keeps shaking, there's kind of a burst of activity that happens, right? The birds are kind of like, there's a lot of them out. They're flying around, kind of disturbed by the root quake as you travel. Like clouds of insects are pushed out as you are going. All of this life kind of buzzing on the waves, I think, starts to attract more life. And I think you can kind of see, there are two creatures that are some of the most common things to find on the Wildsea. And they are almost, two sides of a similar coin, you know what I mean? They are mirrors to each other. There are the pinwolves, these vicious, dangerous, scavenging predators on the Wildsea, who, are the predators of old transformed to hunt the new life here. And on the other side of the coin, a sign of good luck, a deviation in the branch. You start to see them first, Hex, because you're on the deck and you've got a better line of sight out. These beautiful, brilliant, like red shapes. These burnished orange-red shapes that kind of pop up through the canopy and then dive back down.
Dolphins of the Wildsea.
Yes, right. What dolphins were to the sailors of old, spring foxes are to those who travel across the treetops. There are spring foxes. They are these, they are what came from the foxes that survived the Verdant Sea. They tend to travel, in packs, following the wake of ships, right? Because ships disturb bugs and little creatures that these spring foxes eat. And I think, there's a feast right now as these, like, kind of steady, small root quakes continue. And so on either side of the ship, I think two packs, or like one larger pack split in, on either side, spring foxes are following the ship as you kind of tear along, and they are dancing along the sides there. And it's pleasant. This is like not a dangerous thing that you're seeing.
Yeah.
You've seen spring foxes before, probably, but there's like for many sailors, they are like a sign of good luck, or a sight to celebrate. They often mean that you're not, if there are no spring foxes on a place where you're in a journey, there's a chance you're in doldrums, a place where the Wildsea started to stagnate, or where some greater predator has scared them off. A sign of a lively pack of them means that you're in relatively safe waters, as it were. And I'm going to mark 2 more segments on the journey track as you guys kind of continue to tear along the Wildsea.
Have anyone here ever been on a boat that had like dolphins following it? It's incredible.
When we were in Maine last summer, my partner and I, Larissa, were on a dock because we were like staying at this house that was like right on the water. And so we were out on the dock, and a like school of porpoises came right up to the dock we were on, and for like an hour and a half they were just like jumping and playing in the water all around the dock.
That's so cool.
And like checking us out. It was really cool, very special, very
easy
cool
targets. They jump right into the nets.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
They're delicious too.
It's heartbreaking. Some, maybe Hex is talking to Ixelbor, or, just people make coats out of these. There's better leather.
They
on
make
the
what?
Coats.
Ooh.
No, there's better leather out on the Wildsea than these.
I think Ixelbor is like looks to you and he nods. It's bad fortune to kill a spring fox. We'd throw men to the sea who came back wearing spring fox, pelt. I think that's all he says about it, right? But like just yeah.
In the galley?
Okay.
A different life, right? You know, an older life. And then he goes back to just watching them alongside you. And unless someone has like an interaction with them, that's it. It's just a peaceful encounter on the waves. You know what I mean? And the journey continues, right? It's a couple days more. You know, the spring foxes follow you on and off. They don't stay with you the whole time, but they follow you for a portion of this journey, and you make good time. You don't encounter any further ruins pushed up, but you don't encounter any threats either. Eventually, Claremont figures out how to turn off the player piano.
It was just a power switch on the back.
Yeah, he unplugged it. You know, he quiets the kind of maddening melody, and you are able to kind of, you know, account for your salvage to more securely put it away. You know, and the ship, it's a fairly pleasant ride. And I think, you know, it's a few days later. Reese, you're at the helm still. You start to see it as you kind of you crest one of these rolling waves of branches to realize that there's a shape on the horizon that is more than just the usual, like, swell and fall of leaves. It is a more substantial shift in the terrain. And I think, you know, as you're at this point too, you know, you're starting to hear in the distance the sound of other bites on the Wildsea. You're not alone in this ship anymore, you know. Maybe they're not in sight, but you can hear far off other saw prows cutting paths through the greenery. And far ahead, you know, you can see it perfectly from the deck hexam. There's a great swell of structure rising up out of the waves. A massive circular ridge, not of trees, but of land, solid earth, punching up above the thrash, with an open gap at the front of it, almost like a maw. The walls of this great ridge rising up, even at this distance, you know, they're minuscule, but you can start to see. It is covered in the infrastructure of civilization. There are buildings. There are ships being lifted out of the waves on great chains to be docked along the sides of these stone walls. There is the silhouette of two figures, a statue, an Ectus and an Ardent in embrace, painted in dark mottled colors. This is a freeport built over every available surface of a great caldera, a volcanic cauldron. And, you know, even at this distance, you can see through that maw, the interior of this cauldron has been transformed to there's green growing in there as well. Some kind of beautiful curated garden. This is the bustling port of Caldermere, sighted at last. And Claremont runs onto the deck, you know, and he begins to ring the bell. He's shouting in joy, you know, Caldermere ahead! We've made it, boys!
In Caldermere, they're calling your name, dear. In Caldermere, there's always a friend found there far and near.
Hey, pretty good.
So give a cheer for Caldermere.
And when we return, we will bring the Verdigale into port for the first time and meet the grand people of Caldermere and continue the adventures of the Verdigale here on Risky Standard.